welcome back to my channel. Today we are filming in my little boy's room and I haven't even made his bed. So it's going to be another casual kind of chatty video, and today I thought it would be fun to share with you the things that I wish I knew before I became a mum, and the things that I wish I could go back in time and do differently, both for the benefit of my baby and my family, but also for the benefit of me and my mental health, and how much easier it would have been if I had known these things. So I have got a nice big list here for you and are going to dive right in. First off, this is the first video that you've ever seen of mine. My name is Kitty. I am a registered general nurse. I'm also an IBCLC, so an international board certified lactation consultant, birth and postpartum doula, hypnobirthing instructor, antenatal educator, and called Mama by Three Little People. And I love to share content around trying to conceive, pregnancy, birth, breastfeeding, and I teach classes in all of these areas and offer support in all of these areas. So if you're looking for some support, or maybe you want to do a consultation, do touch base with me via the link in my bio down below. No, let's get in. So I think I'm actually going to retitle this video as mistakes that I made as a first-time mum, because I made so many mistakes, and I'm not beating myself up over those, nor should you, because I love that phrase. You do the best you can with the information that you have at the time. And I think also, there's a lot of pressure put on new mums to be doing things a certain way, to be out there in the world, to be putting themselves together a certain way. So I think that only adds to the pressure. So I'm going to start by saying that the first mistake that I made before baby even arrived was prioritizing baby's nursery over planning for not only birth but postpartum. So what I did instead was spent so long on Pinterest getting these like cute little nursery designs with like just the perfect wallpaper and the perfect little cot. My eldest is now nearly 4 years old and has never slept in that cot. It is there as an absolute like fancy version to put our dirty laundry in. It is, and maybe like nappies and wipes and things like that for overnight, so it was quite handy for that perspective. But it was something that I absolutely adored doing at the time. So yes, do it if you enjoy doing it, but in reality the guidance and the recommendation is that your little one stays with you at least for the first 6 months, in the same bedroom as you until then anyhow. So they don't really need their nursery at all, and that was something that I put a lot of pressure on myself, and people wanted to see that space. And I wish I would have said to myself, actually there are so many other things you could put your money and time and effort into. So if I could go back, I for sure would I do a nursery at all? Probably not. I think I probably would use that space for so many other things and put my time and effort and energy elsewhere, like planning for postpartum, which is my next topic. And for my first postpartum journey, I did nothing to prepare myself for once baby had arrived. I think I maybe made some padsicles, some of those like frozen witch hazel and aloe vera gel pads. That was about it. I don't think I did any like stocking of the freezer for freezer meals. I didn't kind of support myself from the perspective of hiring a postpartum doula or a cleaner, or getting some meal kits, delivery service, or anything from the perspective of how I was going to nourish myself and my mental well-being, looking out for supports and things like that. So that's one of the things that I would have given myself a lot of grace with, and that's one of the things that I likely would have put the time and certainly the money into if it was my first baby that I'm having now. So less priority over the nursery, more priority over postpartum planning. So the next thing that I definitely did, and I had a really long labor for my first baby. It was like 3 days in total, like really long, really intense, really beautiful, magical, and positive, and very empowering. I probably wouldn't be here being as excited to encourage people to have a similar birth experience if it wasn't empowering. But it was also very long, and I think part of the reason that it is so long is because of the things that I have learned since, which is not to chase labor. So labor happens because of this lovely cocktail of hormones that is released both from your baby, including from baby's lungs, telling your body that they are mature enough for the outside world, but also from your placenta and from your own body. And there isn't a whole lot you can do to chase that except that you will tire yourself out. So for me, one of the things that I did when I thought things were starting is I just got so overwhelmed and so excited that I was like getting up and like squatting and lunging and walking and doing all of the things when in reality what I should have been doing was getting into bed and resting. So that was one of the things that I definitely did wrong, because then I tired out really quickly. And it's like a marathon, it's not a sprint. And I think that now, as a birth worker, my advice is stay in bed until you can no longer. So don't chase labor, stay in bed until your body tells you need to get up. So, on that same note, from a sort of mistakes that I made, I was so on it in terms of timing my contractions or my surges. And actually, from since then, and I've liked to sort of stay as much as I can in a mindset of like change and always growing and always developing. And one of the things that I've learned is that, through my hypnobirthing training, actually what you're doing is birth is very much a left-sided brain activity. And what we're doing by timing contractions and being on, having to be like mentally switched on for pressing the button, for being aware of the difference in the time between the two, for having the app open, and for making sure that our phone is charged enough that it's not going to run out of battery or whatever it might be, is we're taking ourselves outside of the left side of our brain, which is the birthing part of our brain, where we can just be present and focus on our breathing and just be in our bodies, and bringing ourselves out into that right sided part of our brain. So from the perspective of how what I would deal with that if it was now, I would probably time my contractions for maybe like 10 minutes, see how many I was getting in that space of time, and then put my phone aside, or perhaps delegate that to my partner so that wasn't something that I had to focus on at all, so that I could just be, like I said, present in my birthing body. And that's what I recommend my clients do nowadays, is actually just put that timer aside. And if you were to ask me like what my favorite timer would be, I particularly like the Freya timer, which is one of the Positive Birth Company's little pieces, and it's really nice because it also gives you those lovely positive birthing affirmations while you are surging. So it gives you that little bit of guidance, and it's particularly soothing. I like the sound of her voice as well. So have a little look at that if that's something you're interested in. So the next thing that I would say, and this isn't something that I did because I did have a home birth with my first, but it would be so I did do a little bit of research, but in general, this is a mistake that I see other mothers make. And this is, as soon as you find out you're pregnant, you pee on a stick, you go to your GP. So you go to your local doctor, and your care provider says, here's who I would recommend you go to, off you go. And what I see a lot of the time is people just going off of their GP's recommendation. And actually, what we should be doing, how we should be approaching our first trimester, is as an opportunity for us to interview various care providers to find who best aligns with the birth that we want to have, who is going to be most supportive, who has the best stats. Ask for their stats, ask for their rates for VBAC, for vaginal birth, for first time mums, for their cesarean rate, their episiotomy rate, because you can choose the care provider who's best going to fit you. And the only way to do that is to talk to all of them and to find out who's going to be the best fit. So while that isn't something that I did last time, it's something that I noticed many first time mums doing. So I thought I would add that in as like a little bonus mistake or bonus tip. So another little tip, and this comes actually to the birthing phase, so we're actually birthing your baby, is to do your best to block everyone else out of the room. So when it came to actually pushing my baby out, I could feel this intense pressure, I could feel that urge to bear down and meet my baby. But instead of just listening into my body and knowing that I knew what to do, because what happens with our bodies, because they're so clever, is as baby's head meets that lovely hammock or sling of muscle over your pelvic floor, you get the Ferguson's reflex kicking in. So as baby's head bears down, you get the urge to bear down. So, you also need to have other things at play here in order for that to kick in. So ideally without an epidural, you want to be feeling sort of safe, sense of privacy, a sense of feeling truly uninhibited. So sometimes that not all women will experience that, but if you do feel that, it's best to go with that desire, to go with that urge to bear down, as opposed to purple pushing, coach pushing, closed glottis pushing, where we see it on TV, where it's hold your breath, put your lips together, push, push, push like you're doing a big poo. And actually, that's not where the evidence stands nowadays in terms of best outcome for baby and also in best outcome for mum in terms of reducing tearing and things like that. So, listening to your body and avoiding coached pushing for your first baby would be something that would be one of my biggest tips and mistakes to avoid. The next tip, and I'm going to be kind of tooting my own horn here, is to not just take the hospital birth preparation class. So many hospitals will offer you like a free birth preparation class, and while that is wonderful and I say absolutely attend it, I say make sure it's not the only one you attend, because we have to bear in mind that the hospital birth prep class is going to teach you how to best to give birth in hospital. So it's going to tell you how to birth your baby underneath their policies and their procedures, as opposed to in a way that is going to help you feel truly educated around what your different decisions are and how to kind of navigate that system that is going to be best for mum but also best for baby. So if you want to learn a little bit more about how you can navigate the system but also find out what's best for you and find out the best decisions in terms of how you can birth your baby, learn about comfort measures like massage, acupressure, counter pressure, movement during labor, understanding when to call your care provider, and when to maybe head to the hospital or birthing suite, do check out my complete empowered birth course, and I'll have the link to the next event. It's been such a roaring success that I've actually opened up new dates again. So check out the link in my bio if you want to sign up before all of this. Okay, so they're all tips for sort of in pregnancy and when it comes to actually delivery and birth. Now your baby has arrived, and one of the first things that really astounded me was just how little stuff we needed. And while I didn't go ahead and get like a registry, which we don't really do in Ireland, I know that you do it a lot in the US, I did get a lot of people saying like, what do you need? What can I get you? And I had almost like a running list in my head, as well as the fact that everyone wanted to give us all of their lovely hand-me-downs, and I love secondhand stuff. It's much better for the environment. So, and as someone who's mildly eco-conscious, I just felt like I needed to have all of this stuff. And actually, so much of it barely got used. Because I went on to breastfeed and nurse my baby, I really only needed myself to feed my baby, so something for baby to eat, something for baby to wear. So we did like footed onesies, zipper onesies are my new favorite, and then just like vests for underneath. So like 7 of each of those is really plenty. And then the last one is somewhere for your baby to sleep. And for us, we were safely bed sharing, so making sure that we had a firm, safe mattress for baby to sleep, and that was once they had all of those things, they didn't really need anything else. And we went ahead and got so much extra stuff like toys, like rattles and special socks, and way too many little cute bonnets and dummies that our baby never took. All sorts of things that actually I don't think you ever really need to get. So that's the first thing, is that you need way less than the world would have you imagine. The next thing then is when it comes to nursing, I went so hardcore, even though at the time I was an IBCLC, I went so hardcore with being nervous about my baby's output and tracking it and just having that app in front of me all the times, and nursing my baby and go, quick, I have to open the app and put that in, and 20 minutes on this side, okay, 20 minutes on this side, baby's done a poo. And actually, I should have been, instead of looking at the clock and looking at the app, looking at my baby and learning my baby's cues. So that's something that I very quickly stepped away from. I think I did that for like a day, and then I realized this is bananas. He's getting plenty, and I needed to just put my lactation consultant cap back on instead of my worried new mum cap. So that's something that I would say is, even though it can be very helpful to have those apps, sometimes it can also take it away from the time where you should be just soaking up your baby. Okay, so the next thing is regarding sleep, and this is one of the things that I personally didn't worry about, but I see a lot of new mums worrying about, and there's an awful lot of like sleep experts and sleep coaches out there who will tell you that your baby needs to sleep independently. I've been doing a series over on my Instagram of like unpopular opinions, and this is probably one of the ones that you'll be seeing next, just why I don't like the concept of sleep training your baby. And that's probably one of the biggest worries that I see is my baby sleeping enough? Should they be in a routine at this point? And what I prefer to say is focus in on your baby, that you are the expert on your baby. And just in the same way that this world is also new for you as a new mother, this world is very new for them too. They are so used to the intrauterine life where it's warm and quiet and they're held and snug and being rocked to sleep constantly, versus being in the outside world where it's bright and cold and sort of harsh. So coming back to, okay, well, what would I like if I was them? I sleep better when my partner is beside me, so I'm sure they sleep better when they've got someone beside them. And leaning into, if my baby needs to be held for naps, if we need to do contact naps, if we need to wear a baby in the sling or push them in the buggy, that is so okay. And instead focusing less on routine and having such a strict routine to your day, thinking, okay, actually our baby doesn't know the difference, doesn't have their circadian rhythm really in sync for the first 2 to 3 months, in the same way that we do, where we know night and day. So, what can we do to support that? And instead, focusing less on routine and more on creating a rhythm. Okay, so just to kind of like follow on from that point where we're talking about like contact napping and co sleeping and things like that, one of the other worries that I see or hear a lot of new mums making is about nursing to sleep. And this wasn't something that I focused on hugely because I knew that this was my magic trick. This was my way to help my baby get to sleep quickly and easily so that we could both get more rest. And the good thing about nursing to sleep is that there are hormones present in your baby's breast milk that help them to fall asleep and stay asleep. So not only is it like your magic trick that won't work forever, I will tell you, to help your baby get to sleep, but also that lovely suckling action helps them to soothe and relax and get into a state that they are ready to fall asleep. So super beneficial if you can nurse your baby to sleep, and absolutely not something that I would be trying to move away from until such time as it's no longer working for you, in which case I do have a post talking about moving away from nursing to sleep, where we talk about the different habits you can overlay to help you move away in like a no cry method. So let me know if you wanted me to talk about any more of these tips and tricks, but that's the main things. Oh, one last one, actually, I'm looking at them just beneath me here, is that from a first time mum perspective before giving birth, I would watch with my partner more birthing videos. I feel like it's one of the parts about birth preparation that just isn't talked about in the same way and isn't always exposed. I always make sure to show lots of real life birth videos and some of my favorite accounts and things like that during my birth preparation classes. We always play birth videos during the ad break or during like the lunchtime break for that purpose, because a lot of times partners haven't seen or heard a birthing person make those noises until such time as it's their own partner in labor. And it can be quite scary because there are lots of really deep guttural sounds. There's lots of oohs and ahs and ha's and moos, and it can be quite scary and quite overwhelming if this is the first time that you're hearing them. So that would be a little tip from a sort of birth partner perspective. Make sure you too are watching lots of physiological birth videos without the music. The music is lovely, but sometimes it takes away from the rawness that you will then go on to expect. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. These have been mistakes that both I have made, but also I've seen first time mums make, that if you can avoid them will make your first time mama experience so much easier and gentler. I hope you're excited to meet your baby if you are pregnant at this time, and if you're not and you're already a mum, welcome to the club, and I hope that you can apply some of these to your day-to-day life to make your life that little bit easier.